Hello, my name's Lori Flippen, and I'm really glad that you could join me today. And hopefully, you're looking for some resources for parents that could help with things tied particularly to learning loss and math development for students. I am from the Great Lakes Bay STEM Initiative, and we serve Bay, Aranac, Clare, Gladwin, Gratiot, Isabella, Saginaw, and Midland counties. But the resources that I'm going to share with you today, those being Bedtime Math and ST Math, they're available all across the country and all across the world, as a matter of fact. A few of the pieces of information that I'll close with are a little bit more specific to the Great Lakes Bay region, but everything in terms of having some math support for parents at home to be able to work with their students starting at age 3 and up into the early elementary years. That's what I have to share with you, so that hopefully you can share the message far and wide that both Bedtime Math and ST Math are possible resources for families to help accelerate math development and be able to fill in gaps for students who may need it in terms of their math development. So we will go ahead and jump right in. The very first one that I had mentioned is Bedtime Math. It is a website that has resources on it, and they share information on how to either get on their mailing list in order to receive daily emails that have activities that they can use with their child at home. And the other option is to download an app where those same activities would appear daily on an app. So the web address for it is listed on the screen, but you could simply Google Bedtime Math. And it's a fun, engaging way in order for parents to know what to do in order to help their child develop some math skills at home. For most parents, it's very simple and easy to know that sitting down and reading with their child before bed is a great way to develop the skill of reading and to develop, vocabulary and various other things. But many of those same parents struggle to know what to do regarding math. And there are certainly a lot of things that they could find on their own, but this would prompt them daily without added effort on their part in order to be able to develop number sense and learn much of the math terminology that will help their child succeed in school at the early ages. So a parent could start utilizing it, even before age 3, even though on the screen right now I'm showing ages 3 to 9, but they could certainly begin before age 3 with utilizing the app and having fun at home, listening to stories, watching little video clips, and then having prompts on questions they can ask their child to challenge them, allow them to learn, and have daily exposure to math in a non-threatening way. So just to give you an example of what this might look like, this was the activity from today, actually. The video that ties with the picture that I have on the screen showed 2 people essentially adding rubber band after rubber band after rubber band to a watermelon until it eventually explodes. And there's a little bit of a clip to read. There's the video to watch if they choose to. And then following after that, there are questions for a really young child, more at that 3-year-old level, up through early elementary age. And a parent can choose, which question to ask depending upon where they think their child is at. And then they can build on the discussion, talk about the video, talk about what happened, talk about the math, but just in the prompt in and of itself, they're being told how to develop number sense with their child by simply following these directions. So that's one example. And each and every day, they would get one of those simple, straightforward examples. They might do that, while they're brushing their teeth. They could do that while they're waiting for bed, while they're eating their dinner. So a family would have every option to choose where to fit it into their day. And then what you see on the screen here is the responses that the organization has seen from parents in terms of what does this do for them as a family. And what they're saying is that it is reducing fear and anxiety for both the parent and the student. And it is obvious to a parent that it is helping with their child's math skills, but they're also commenting that they're simply having fun with their child while doing math. So I believe that just reducing that stress that's associated with math for many people, especially if a parent felt that they struggled with math, we want this app to change that for the way they perceive and talk about math with their child. So their child doesn't automatically assume that they will have difficulties with math. Instead, they view math as something fun that they can engage with their parent. So my ask of you is that you check out Bedtime Math and that you strongly consider informing the parents of your students that this is something that they could utilize at home that might be able to help develop some of the skills, especially if there's skills missing at that preschool, kindergarten, or early elementary age levels. The second one that I want to make you aware of is a program called ST Math at the website listed on the screen. It is a complete curriculum that is done in a game-like environment, but it can be utilized at home just by students and their parents in order to work their way through all of the skills. And it is a program based on mastery. So if a student already understands something, they can quickly work their way through it. If they do not, it's going to continue to address the types of skills that the student needs to develop until they have mastered those concepts. It begins completely in a cartoon game-like environment, actually without words, where they are working their way through puzzles and activities that are visual representations of the math. Over time, as they understand what's happening, then numbers, symbols, and then equations are introduced kind of in that order. So that if a child has a language barrier, for example, they could play the game without having to even have words introduced into it initially as their language develops. So it absolutely builds a conceptual understanding for students, and it does it in a way that's fun and engaging, and it helps to identify those gaps and work through the gaps on an individual basis. That's so difficult to do at school when you have a classroom of 30 students and you simply can't see where every child is going wrong and where all of their gaps in understanding fall. So to give you an idea about the program, I want to show a short clip.
Hey Gigi fans, this is Huey from Mind Research Institute. Let's talk about ST Math. The ST stands for Spatial Temporal Reasoning. And what is that? It's the ability to see the math, or think in pictures. Try this one out. Estimate the sum of these two numbers. How will most students solve this problem? They'll try and pull complex problems later in life in their careers and jobs. So in ST Math, students experience the math visually at first, which builds their conceptual understanding. Then we introduce the numbers, then the symbols, then more numbers and symbols until they're experiencing the math symbolically. The numbers and symbols just become a way for them to describe their conceptual understanding. How do other programs do this? Here's an example. I need 2.5 gallons of fruit punch. How many quart-sized containers will I need? What do you see on there? Lots of text, a timer that adds stress, multiple choice, and when I press A, what happens? Click here, try again. I don't get any feedback on why I got that wrong, or why I got that right. Now here's the same problem in ST Math. No instructions, no text, no timer, no multiple choice. We just try something and see what happens. And the animation will give us immediate feedback as to why we got this wrong. The gallons will pour out into the quarts, showing us that 4 quarts make a gallon, but we picked too many, and Gigi the penguin can't get by. So let's try it again with 10 quarts, and the animation will tell us if we got it right or we got it wrong. The gallons will pour out into the quarts. 4 quarts make a gallon, and we got it right. Learning math is like driving a car. You can read about it, you can take a test on it, but you won't know how to really drive until you put your hands on the wheel and push the gas. And in ST Math, students can truly experience the math by interacting with these visual models. And if you want to play some games yourself, click on the link at the end. I think you'll really like it. Hey Gigi fans, this is Huey from Mind.
So essentially what you just saw in that video would be the sequence that I'm now clicking through on this screen. So showing it just a little bit shorter, what a student would see as they practice or play, as they would describe it, the game of ST Math. It starts out with this screen showing the 2 different types of animals and the amount of legs that each one of them would have. And so they start to see, okay, they're focused in on the legs, and we're trying to determine the number of them after they've played a variety of games, and they get the gist of they're either adding, subtracting, multiplying for some of the earlier related activities. They would be able to see as they proceed through the reasoning and the understanding that at first, they're just looking at the images and they're seeing the count of it. Then they start to represent a grouping of animals and showing the numbers that represent that. Afterwards, they introduce the actual symbol showing that they are combining them by adding them together. Beyond that, they take it then to the next level and show that for each of the animals, the number of legs that they would have, they introduce the multiplication symbol. And then finally, they show the complete representation of what went all the way back from just that image of the animals with the legs being taken into consideration, the groupings of those legs, and then the summation of the parts. They see it all the way through. So when a student sees simply this, if they're struggling with math and they're trying to memorize what they can and remember what process it is that they have to draw on each time, it's not so much just that process of memorizing one way of doing things and then another way of doing things. And instead, it's a complete understanding of what it is that they're doing. So developing that and finding where they're not understanding and then having the program fill in those places where there's lack of understanding, that's incredibly powerful for students and families. And especially now for many students where there just might be much larger gaps, and yet the pressure to still succeed and move forward, and the struggle this year if there's going to be times where they may go in and out of school again, and knowing that that might be coming, that stress and strain for families is just really difficult. So I hope that you explore the ST Math program as well. It's completely free for families due to the pandemic situation all the way through June 30th of this next school year. So it's pretty much a no-risk situation other than a little bit of time for families to get into it, access the app, have their child try it out, see if it helps to build some understanding, and I hope you encourage them to do so. It is a program meant for schools. If you look at it and think, why isn't my school doing it? I shouldn't just be telling my parents about it. Then absolutely look into trying to see if you can bring it to your school. A variety of schools have added it in the Great Lakes Bay region over the last 5 years after we had a committee of educators, instructional leads, college professors, and math departments look into what we could do in our region to make a difference with math development. And ST Math was the choice for us in our region. So I hope you can consider it. There are also other parent resources. There's a blog and other things on their website. So consider searching for that information as well, if that would be helpful to you, to have just some tips to send home to parents as it continues to be difficult for parents to help with their students during the pandemic. And then last but not least, the two last screens, I just wanted to share with you some parent resources that we have within our region. Some of it is very general and could apply to parents overall, such as mental health resources. Others, like the calendar of events, would be more specific to our region and may not be as helpful. But just in case you can find anything that would be useful for your families at these resources, feel free to share. And then the same thing for the website that I run, stempipeline.com. We do have a calendar of events. We have a variety of video resources and other resources. We have camp information. We have career exploration videos and other resources. If any of that sounds like it could be helpful to you, or if you simply want to follow us on social media in case anything comes up that you think would be a great ad for you in your role, feel free to follow us. If you have any questions, I have my email on the screen. Don't hesitate to reach out if there's any way I can help you, or if you want just more information on how and why we selected these resources to promote. We don't get any money for it, that's for sure. It was us trying to make a difference for our students in our region and digging through many resources and trying to find out what would be most helpful. And these were two resources that we picked. So good luck exploring. Have a wonderful school year. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for joining in today.